The Yankees have clear issues at the top of their rotation. They lack some reliable starting pitching. Both Carlos Rodon and Esther Cortez present massive question marks, not just from a performance perspective, but from an injury perspective as well. And then you have younger guys like Clark Schmidt, Will Warren, and Clayton Beeter who are less experienced, so you're not necessarily relying upon them to be your 2 or 3 starters. And the Yankees could look at the trade market to potentially find a top of the rotation guy to pair with Garrett Cole. While it seems unlikely that the Yankees and Brewers will match up on a blockbuster deal for Corbin Burnes, the former NL Cy Young winner could be a huge addition to the Yankees rotation, and today we're doing a mock trade to bring the 3-time All-Star to the Bronx. Before we get into today's video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Join our Fireside family and be notified of our uploads and streams, as we're pumping out plenty of epic content for you guys on the daily, and you do not want to miss out on what we've got cooking. So with all that out of the way now, let's get into today's video. Corbin Burnes was one of the best pitchers in baseball last season, despite taking a step back in the velocity and strikeout department, as he logged 32 starts with a 3.39 ERA and made his 3rd straight All-Star team. The right-hander finished 8th in the Cy Young voting as well, his 4th consecutive top 10 finish, and he's consistently been an ace at the top of the Brewers rotation since breaking out in 2020. Over those 4 seasons, the 29-year-old has a 2.86 ERA and a 17.9 FWAR, as he's one of just 12 pitchers with at least 600 innings pitched, and one of just 9 with an ERA below 3 over that time span. In fact, he's the only pitcher to have over 600 innings pitched and an ERA below 3 over that time span, showing off an ability not only to be a workhorse, but also prevent runs at an elite clip as well. He relies heavily on his cutter, a pitch that he uses as his primary fastball, and can prevent damage contact and get strikeouts based on the situation and what it calls for. It's been the best cutter in baseball according to Run Valley since 2020 at 70.4, leagues ahead of any other pitcher in the game, and if you add up the 2nd and 3rd best cutters over that time span, which belong to Kenley Jansen and Emmanuel Clase, you still end up 17.2 runs shy of Corbin Burnes' mark. He held hitters to a 279 WOBA on that pitch, and he's running the best stuff plus for a cutter in baseball over that 4-year run as well, with a 136 stuff plus. It's a truly dominant offering that helps him stand out from other pitchers due to its mid-90s velocity, and having a unicorn pitch can make a pitcher elite, and Burnes' ability to naturally get around the baseball makes him devastating when he mixes in harder or softer cutters based on the movement profile he's looking for in a specific matchup, and that makes him one of the hardest pitchers to consistently barrel up in the game. Opposing hitters is a 4.8% barrel rate and a 46.4% ground ball rate over the past 3 seasons, with a 334 xWOBA as well. He's a contact managing king, and that should translate extremely well in the run-friendly American League East. We'll have to adjust not just to less spacious ballparks, but also to much more difficult competition offensively in comparison to the NL Central. An increase in quality of opponent will certainly present challenges, but having the ability to prevent damage contact certainly helps the pitcher project better for those matchups and situations. His primary breaking ball is a dirty curveball that generates plenty of drop and had a near 50% whiff rate this past season, as batters hit 133 against it with a 211 slugging percentage. It's a gross offering that he can use against right-handed and left-handed batters, and it elevates his profile a ton. It's a pitch that batters have basically had no success hitting, and it complements his cutter extremely well due to its abundance of movement. He has excellent control of his curveball as well, and it's a stellar put-away pitch. He also mixes in a changeup for left-handed batters alongside a sweeping slider and sinker for right-handed batters, and overall, the command of his arsenal and the diversity of his movement profiles allow for him to be one of the most talented pitchers in the entire game. He's a nightmare for batters to face, and alongside Garrett Cole, they form the most dynamic and fearful top of the rotation in all of baseball. The numbers, the stuff, and the volume all suggest this is a top of the rotation kind of arm, and somebody who can pitch deep into games and flat out dominate not just in the regular season, but in the postseason as well. This would be truly an addition that takes the Yankees to a whole other level, but almost every team in baseball would want Corbin Burnes on their team. Maybe not smaller market teams like the Red Sox, but that's neither here nor there. With that being said, the Brewers would likely need a hefty package in order to get a conversation started, but what would that look like? First, we'll need a headliner, somebody to catch the Brewers' eye, and a prospect that would immediately fill in as a front-line, upside guy for rotation, and that would be Chase Hampton. He's the top pitching prospect of the organization with a power fastball that generates over 18 inches of ride in the mid-90s, while also possessing a great sweeping slider and a strong cutter as well. Hampton pitched at a tune of a 3.63 ERA and a 3.38 FIP across 20 starts, averaging 5.1 innings a start and striking out 33.1% of batters faced. He finished 3rd in all of minor league baseball in strikeout to walk rate at 24.7%, and that's minimum 100 innings pitched, but he also finished top 8 in xFIP as well. He's a consensus top 100 prospect, and the Yankees have spoken really well of him publicly, which indicates that they view him as a real option for the roster in the near future. In fact, Aaron Boone mentioned him as a pitcher we could see in 2024, and the Brewers have an excellent track record with developing pitchers, as evidenced by Corbin Burnes himself. Chase Hampton could fill in at the top of the rotation for the Brewers down the line, and is one of the most talented pitchers in all of minor league baseball. His stuff is stellar, and the upside here is amazing for Hampton, as when his command and durability get better in games, he'll become one of the most exciting young pitchers in all of the sport. He turned 22 years old this past August, and has already made it up to Double-A in his first season with the Yankee organization. He can 100% headline a deal, but Hampton can't be the only notable piece in this trade either. If the Brewers were to move Corbin Burnes, you'd imagine that Willy Adames is soon to fall at some point over the next year, and Oswald Peraza could slot in as a defensive-minded shortstop and give the Brewers much-needed infield depth. He's a versatile defender with the infield prowess to handle a corner infield spot or second base if needed as well, who can cover various spots for the Brewers in the infield. His bat at the major league level has been subpar, and as a result, he cannot be valued as a top 100 prospect in a potential deal, but he could still provide around 2 WAR at shortstop for the Brewers and hold things down there, but this of course hinges on whether the Brewers value him as a starting shortstop or not. Projections believe that Oswald Peraza can be a 97 WRC plus hitter, and Steamer believes that he'll provide 2.3 WAR and 18 home runs if he does play at that offensive level, which could certainly help boost the bottom third of the Brewers' depleted lineup. Another part of their infield that's been a consistent issue here is first base, and Ben Rice could aid the Brewers in that regard too. He dominated in Double-A, posting a 182 WRC plus and 16 home runs across 48 games for the Somerset Patriots, showing off an elite left-handed swing. He also struck out just 18.9% of the time in those games, pulling 50% of his batted balls while having a 40.9% fly ball rate and a 26% line drive rate. He does plenty of damage when he puts the ball in play and has a strong frame that projects well for generating power. He came up through the system as a catcher, but took reps at first base this past season given the fact that the Yankees had a surplus of catchers at the Double-A level. Ben Rice just has to be average at the position for him to stick there and be an impact player, especially given how good his bat is, and he should start out in Triple-A to open the season next year with a chance to debut at the major league level sooner rather than later. It'll be a tough loss for the organization, as I really like his bat from the left-handed side, but if you're getting Corbin Burnes, does it really matter? The final piece for this deal would be an intriguing infielder, and that would be recently acquired second baseman and third baseman Corbin Vivas, who gives the Brewers even more infield depth on their 40-man roster. He put up a 788 OPS and a 111 WRC plus across Double-A and Triple-A last season with a strong glove, improving his value on the base paths and showing off excellent plate discipline. You rarely see a player traded twice in one offseason, but again, looking at what the Brewers need, which is infield depth, and looking what the Yankees have, it's a surplus of infield depth, so I think the two teams match up really well in that regard. However, is this a conversation starter, or does this get a deal done? A conversation starter is different than a deal finisher. The Yankees will be parting ways with a top 100 prospect in Chase Hampton, a guy who's a former top 100 prospect in Oswald Peraza, and 2 infielders who could help the Brewers in this upcoming season. And from the Brewers' perspective, you're getting a lot of depth, and you're finding a pitcher who could potentially replace Burnes down the road, but the issue is, does this finish a deal? And, well, I'm not necessarily sure. In my eyes, the Brewers would listen to the deal, but they would look for a higher offer most likely. Some reports have indicated they could hold on to Corbin Burnes for opening day, and this wouldn't fit the profile of a deal that convinces them to go all in on a Corbin Burnes trade right now. Perhaps if you swapped out Oswald Peraza or you swapped out Corbin Vivas for Roddick Arias, you could put together a more enticing package, but we need to look at this from Brian Cashman's perspective as well. The Yankees just moved a lot of player capital for Juan Soto, a player who almost certainly will hit free agency and get nearly $500 million on the open market. Perhaps the Yankees could sign both Soto and Burnes, but it seems unlikely that they retain Burnes on a long-term deal if they retain Soto on a long-term deal as well. You would trade for Corbin Burnes knowing he's not going to extend either because he's a Scott Boras client. So how much more should the Yankees be willing to deal for a player that they're likely only going to have for one season? Personally, I believe the New York Yankees aren't going to drain their farm system yet. They could revisit this at the deadline when they have a better understanding of where they're at as a team and as a pitching staff, but all in all, I think this is at least a strong offer to get a conversation started and get some framework across. Look, the Yankees got Juan Soto this past winter, but a lot of the framework for that deal was done in July, and that was openly admitted by Brian Cashman. So we'll see if that situation could happen here, where the Yankees know they can't get Corbin Burnes yet, but it potentially sets them up to get him at the deadline. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. What would you offer for Corbin Burnes? Did you guys enjoy today's video? All of that and more, all in the comment section. I'm going to be reading all of them, guys. So with that being said, you guys can also check out our other socials and some of the other content we do on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Our website is empiresportsmedia.com, where you guys can check out all of their written content for the New York Yankees. And with that being said, I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees. Thank you for sticking through for the entire video. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.